Get ready to reclaim your life, discover inspiring stories, practical tools, and the path to true happiness. This is Reclaim Your Life with Irina. Let's begin the journey. Hello to another episode of Reclaim Your Life with Irina. Today is a solo episode, and we're going to talk about one of the tools that can help you reclaim your life. That tool is called timeline therapy. And today I'm going to share with you about what it is and how it can help you. When we grow up from a little age of 0 to 7, this is where our beliefs and our ideas are formed about how we see the world and what happens. We get a lot of programming installed at that time. And we take, because our mind is open, we are still little babies, our mind is open to receive anything and everything, and it doesn't question what is happening. It cannot deter whether something is good or bad. It's just what we have experienced, what is around us, what's surrounding us. It all gonna gets recorded into our subconscious mind, and then we get to live it out the rest of our life. And sometimes an incident can occur that could be as little as 2 minutes or even 20 seconds. And you could think nothing about it if I had to ask you to recall your memory. But that little incident could have had a big impact on how you live your life. You might get into a certain pattern, maybe not feeling valued, or getting into the same kind of relationships, or not being able to get promoted at work, or getting into some kind of situations, even though on the surface level you do everything right. An example, when you, let's say, cannot get a promotion, you're doing so many great things. You're doing all the massive projects and you're improving little by little, but you're still not getting ahead. And it could be something that happened in your childhood, in your early formative years, that had a result like that, that is kind of hidden from a day-to-day life. So what is timeline therapy? Timeline therapy allows us to go back in the past and discover what is the root cause of a certain limiting decision that you made about yourself, because everything is a decision we make. If something, let's say, does not work, we immediately say, oh, it never works. But is it really truly the case that it never works? Or is it just that you feel frustrated and you say that to yourself? Another thing timeline therapy helps you do is go back in the past and, let's say, emotion of fear or anger, find out the root cause of that problem. Where did it happen? How many lifetimes ago, or how many generations ago? Because sometimes those things can be passed down to us genealogically, and then we live them out in our present day reality. And when you go back and you find that source, that core emotion, that core event that happened, another beautiful thing about timeline therapy, you don't have to, if there was a phobia associated or some kind of trauma, it does not make you relieve that emotion or that trauma when it happened. You don't have to go right there. You kind of hover around it, or you look into it from a safe perspective, from a safe distance. Whereas if you compare timeline therapy to general psychology, it goes, psychology often asks you to relieve by asking you questions of who did what, how did you feel at that moment, what happened. So every time you go and you revisit that specific event, that traumatic event, you always relive that as if it is happening in present time. Because what happens is when we think about that thing that happened, for our mind, it doesn't matter if something happened in the past or if it is happening now, or if it is a fantasy or something in the future. Everything is happening right here, right now. So same parts of your brain light up, and you get to re-experience all the pain, all the suffering, all the trauma when you talk about it, and talk about it in the psychology terms. Versus in timeline therapy, it is safe from the perspective that you are protected. You are not going to relive or share with your therapist exactly specifics of what had happened, because that's not the point. The point is not about to talk about it more and more. Yes, it will, like, you get something off your chest, but you're still gonna go back and have that same problem. That's why you can go to psychology sessions with a therapist, and you could have the same kind of be in depression or be in anxiety, or they put you on medication, quick fix solution. But you could be going there for 15 years on end and still have the problem. Why do that? With timeline therapy, in a matter of 20 minutes, you could release yourself of that without having to share what specifically, what trauma had happened. The therapist doesn't need to know. Or I'm as a guide, as a coach, I help you guide through the process, and I don't have to know the details, because it is not about the details that what we are trying to do. We are trying to solve the root cause of the problem. So in other words, if I have to speak another way, I feel like psychology is a band-aid, as opposed to timeline therapy. It gives you finding out what is the root cause, what is the problem that caused something to happen, because the event that happened, it could have different circumstances that unveil as a result of it. And on the surface level, you're not even going to see that, because it's your subconscious mind running the show. We all have software in our head, just like if you compare yourself to a computer that runs on the software. But how often do you go back and get an upgrade of the software? If you have a phone or a computer, the upgrades happen so frequently, sometimes twice a month. But when was the last time you upgraded the software that's running your life? That's right here in between your eyes. When was the last time you had an upgrade? We often forget that this is what happens. That, if you don't upgrade, you keep running the same kind of programs that got instilled in you when you were young, between 0 and 7 years old. And it is not to blame, people who raise you, figures of authority or teachers. They didn't know any better. This is all they knew. And we can always only pass to a younger generation something that we know about ourselves and how the world works. We cannot give them anything better unless we learn something better and we make a better decision for ourselves to then go and change life of our children, by not having those traumatic experiences or keeping in mind what we are passing on. So timeline therapy helps you get a second lease on life. If I had to explain it another term, in another way, you get to reimagine your life from a different perspective. It does not erase your memory by no means. What it allows you to do is allows you to go back to the event that had happened, and what are the key lessons from that experience that you learned, some positive lessons about yourself that are in the future that you can integrate. And then when something happens to you in the present tense, or how your life is going to continue, you're going to make a different decision based on the lessons that you have learned from that negative experience, because life is a series of experiences. And if we look at life from something that had happened, what did I learn from that event? What kind of information can I gain? What is the lesson here? Because everything that happens has a lesson that we got to learn. And this is how we evolve. This is how we advance in the evolution of life. And making those different decisions each time, every opportunity brings a lesson. Of course, when you are in the opportunity, in the negative event, you can only see the negative that is happening. You kind of blind to the effects of, what am I learning here? What is something that I can learn and take away and then make a better informed decision next time? You cannot, from where you are, sometimes it's difficult to get there. Like, what is the lesson here? We always hear the loud voice of our ego. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Like, you always hear that, and it's difficult to recognize anything else. So timeline therapy offers a solution, an opportunity to see things from a different perspective. Like, what did I learn in this particular experience, and how can it help me then live my life forward? And there are many kind of emotions and limiting decisions that we ascertain or take. First, it's our first when we grew up, between 0 and 7 in our formative years. And then as we grow, as experiences happen to us, certain situations occur in our life, we then take that experience, again, like more kind of negative things that we can put in a basket, and then it just grows and grows and grows. So our life then is unfolded, or a better word is, when we expect, when something new happens, you always have the negative connotation. What is the wrong thing that can happen? What's something like, what's the worst case scenario based on a positive prior experience, based on our formative years experience, and that is how we live a life. But what if it could be different? What if it could be better? And timeline therapy allows you to do just that, to revisit your past without reliving your past, without getting traumatized again, but learning a lesson from an experience that allows you then to move forward, learn something positive about yourself. Because every lesson meant to teach you something about yourself you didn't know you had. It is not your fault. You are amazing. You are great. We are all like diamonds in the rough. And with every experience, we get to be shaped into that diamond, because you're already great on the inside. But what happened with layers of conditioning, with layers of experiences that have led your life, you become clouded. You become, you don't see as clearly as you could be. It's like having glasses and having a smudge on your glasses, and this is how you live your life, with smudges. But timeline therapy allows you to clean those specks of dust and have a clarity of vision that can help you make better decisions and can improve your life. In my personal experience, when I was going through the timeline therapy experience for myself, it was part of my neurolinguistic programming and timeline therapy and hypnotherapy certification, is first you become the student of the tool when you learn the process. So I went through that myself, and I was the coachee, and then I had a coach who kind of did the timeline therapy on me. And how incredible it is, seeing your life from a different perspective, the lessons that you learn, how they then react. And what happened in the end, after we removed the core 6 negative emotions, that kind of how you start. And then you work first on your emotions, negative emotions, and then you work on limiting decisions. And there could be many to unravel, to unwrap. And you discover them as you go through, and you get to experience more and more about this particular subject area. And you get to relive your life better. But what happened for myself personally, I kind of felt numb in the end. I didn't know how to feel, because life, of course, continues to happen and experiences continue to take shape. But when something happens, you're like, how am I supposed to feel? It kind of gets you, you have to readjust to experience the world afterwards, after those negative things removed. Like, is this something that is sad or angry? You don't feel immediately after that. You feel like you need to readjust, like reassign your compass, your navigation system, how to navigate life from afterwards. But such an incredible experience allowed me to look at my life from perspective of what lessons did I learn on my past to where I am today, and versus where I have been. If I compare my life, what happened as a result of going through timeline therapy, some of the benefits, I guess, what I can share with you. After going through timeline therapy, I started this podcast. This is actually podcast number 2. The other podcast that I host is called Single Parent Success Stories. I became an international best-selling author 4 times around. And I'm right now working on book number 5 and 6. I created online courses. I became a coach. So many different things have unfolded as a result of going through that program. And another thing is that allowed me to happen with timeline therapy. I have this amazing ability to have clarity, to have, we all have that negative chatter. Well, I have the amazing ability not to have that. Have you ever had a clear mind where nothing is like digging right in your head? Just quiet. I have that amazing ability to be able to experience the quietness of your mind. And I'm not as reactive to things, to life. I'm not as like, oh, this happened. Oh my God. I am more open-minded. I am more flowing. I'm not as triggered anymore. And that's what timeline therapy did for me personally. When things happen, you get to see, oh, what am I learning here? You kind of get to rewire your mind a little bit. That allows you to see life from a different perspective. It allows you to open your eyes to the possibility instead of to the negative situation that happened. It allows you to get a second breath in your life, get to experience what it could be, as opposed to all the bad things that had happened and therefore my life is now going to go down the drain. No, you're always safe, protected, and loved. But we often forget that. We often forget that because we get clouded by the experiences that we go through, by our childhood programming. And again, it's not to blame anybody, because we always operate to the best of our abilities with the resources that we have available. But going forward, and now that you've learned that, would you like to try that on yourself? If so, feel free to reach out. I'm gonna post a link down below. You can get on a complimentary session where I get to learn about you and see how I can help you. And then we can take it from there. If you'd like to try that timeline therapy for yourself and experience the magic, because it is truly magical what happens in your mind as a result of it, as you get to reimagine what your life could be, as you get to reimagine the possibilities of what could happen if you remove those negative things from your life. And another thing I want to say about emotions, they are not negative in the sense they're bad. They're just an emotion, and they are meant to kind of be like a bell in your head. It's like when something doesn't feel good, it's your subconscious kind of mind sending you a note, like, pay attention, don't go there, listen to those bells. And sometimes we don't listen to them, and then we get into trouble. But if you like to check out timeline therapy session, if you like to try it for yourself, if you like to reclaim your life, be sure to check out a link down below, get a complimentary call with myself, and we see how we can take it from there. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to give us a like, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell button to be updated on how you can reclaim your life. Because remember, you're only one decision away from reclaiming your life. Have a great week. See you in the next episode.